more big hand for your Congresswoman, my hero. And you all got to see firsthand just a moment ago why on election night, when I was up on stage standing behind my candidate for lieutenant governor as she gave a speech, why all I could think was, how on earth am I going to keep up with that? She's amazing, isn't she? Eamon, thank you very much for hosting us. To our state, Eamon, and to our state treasurer, Michael Frericks, thank you very much, Mike. I'm so proud to be here with all of you back here at Prairie Moon. I must say that apparently I didn't come often enough to keep the doors open, but I was a regular anyway. And to all of you, I want to say something very important. In order for us to really win in 2018, this is really not just about winning the governor's office and the lieutenant governor's office. This really is about electing Democrats up and down the ballot, because in order to get our priorities passed, in order to get universal preschool, in order to get universal health care in the state of Illinois, we need a progressive income tax in this state. And we have to fight for that. Will you help me fight for that? I want you to know that this campaign is about the kitchen table issues important to families all across the state of Illinois. It's why I believe that I won the support of labor unions in the primary, because they understand, and you all understand, and people across the state understand, that we cannot go 4 more years with a governor who has at the top of his agenda destroy labor unions, lower wages in the state, lower workplace safety. We can't have 4 more years of that. We have to fight for our priorities. This is about electing people up and down the ticket who will help us fight for those priorities. What are those kitchen table issues? Well, I mentioned it. Universal health care is number 1. We need to make sure we pass a plan here in the state that expands health care, and I don't mean waiting 5 or 10 years to try to change the entire system the way we really think it ought to be, but rather starting on day 1 with a program that President Obama proposed, and that's a public option here in the state. That will lower the cost of health care for middle-class families and those striving to get there, and make it affordable for people who don't have health care coverage and who are not today covered by Medicaid. It's a beginning to solving the problem in the state. Universal health care is where we're headed. That's number 1. Number 2, we have got to fund our education system properly. Preschool and quality child care, which of course Bruce Browner cut child care assistance in this state by 90%. He put people out of work, and he took children out of child care where they should be, ought to be, and their parents ought to be at work, can be at work. We need to put them back to work. We need to put that child care assistance program back and make sure that quality child care is the standard across the state of Illinois. And if we want to fund our K-12 education system, a progressive income tax, a fair tax in this state is the way to do it. We today in the state of Illinois fund education exactly backward. We're the lowest in the nation, the worst in the nation in the way we fund. The state funds only 26% of education, and all of the rest of it falls on local property taxes. That's just backward. The average state in the United States, half the money comes from the state, half the money comes from local property taxes. We're nearly the worst. Now, we've got to change that system, and that means a progressive income tax, and it means lowering local property taxes and making sure that we're protecting the middle class and those striving to get to the middle class. Now, I want to talk about college, but I also want to say there are a lot of kids who choose not to go to college. And if they're choosing not to go to college, we need vocational training back in our high schools so that people can get good paying jobs if they don't go to college. But if you choose to go to college, we got to make sure that you're not strapped with debt for the rest of your lives. And in fact, we put forward a program, Juliana and I, that will help people lower their college debt and make sure that we're giving people a real opportunity to go to college without getting weighed down for the rest of their lives. Yeah. Now, in order to do that, I want to mention somebody important who ran for this office and ended up dropping out of the race, but somebody who I think is going to be very important in the future of the state of Illinois, and that's Alderman Amaya Pawar. He put forward a plan. Yep, let's give him a hand. He put forward an interesting idea that we should look at, and that is having the Illinois State Board of Education use its bonding authority to help us trade in people's very high interest student debt for low interest debt that the state could bond out and pay for. So you could take thousands of dollars off of the cost for many people of their student debt. We ought to do that right away when we get elected. That's the first thing. Second, Bruce Rauner, the worst governor in the history of the state of Illinois. That's right. Cut funding for universities and community colleges across the state by 60%. So you know what happened? 72,000 kids who otherwise would have chosen to go to school in the state of Illinois left. And about 70% of them will never come back to the state. 70%. Those are not only our best economic resources leaving the state, they're our kids. We want them here in the state. We need them here. You know what the best thing about the state of Illinois is? We have the most educated, dedicated workforce in the nation. And Bruce Rauner is squandering that advantage every single day. He's got to go. We've got to change the way, we've got to change the way we treat our university students and make sure that we're stepping up to the plate and funding MAP grants and making sure that we've got budgets, wouldn't that be a unique idea, every single year, so that kids know that their MAP grants are going to be paid for every single year. That's much of the reason, that uncertainty is much of the reason that kids got up and left the state. So let's change that. Let's pass a budget. Let's actually pass a balanced budget with a progressive income tax. You can hear what a theme of this campaign is going to be, right? Let me also say, so we've got to pay for our universities, our K-12 system, our preschool, and our quality child care in the state. That's just kitchen table issue number one. Or number two, rather. We talked about healthcare. Number three, we've got to raise wages in this state. Yeah. We've got to raise the minimum wage and create jobs. Bruce Rauner's done nothing for working families in this state. And in fact, if he had his way, people's wages would go down because he thinks that's how you create jobs. That's not how you create jobs. First of all, he knows nothing about creating jobs because he never created any when he was a businessman. He fired people to make money. And he's doing it again as governor. What do you know? So I think you need somebody who understands that we shouldn't do what Bruce Rauner does. He goes around the state of Illinois bad-mouthing the state. Then he goes and invites the governors from every surrounding state to go on TV and badmouth the state of Illinois. Then he goes on trade missions and he badmouths the state of Illinois. That's when he's trying to attract jobs to the state. He badmouths the state of Illinois. He's off on another trade mission. My God, everybody duck. Because who knows what he's going to say about us now. So we've got to have a governor who knows how to market the best things about this state, and that is what my wife said about this state in a commercial that we ran during the primary, and that is that the people of Illinois are the best natural resource of our state. Yeah. We've got to invest in our people. Bruce Rauner doesn't understand that. That's how you attract jobs. But you know what? 2/3 of all the jobs that get created in this state are created by small businesses. So you need a governor who understands that, who's going to help people start businesses and grow them. I'm going to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is J.B. Pritzker. I'm going to beat Bruce Rauner. And we're going to bring progressive